Hey everyone, my name is Sophie and this is Sophisticated Motherhood. I'm so excited to officially announce here that I am pregnant with baby number 2 and due this winter. I am now, as I'm filming this, 15 weeks pregnant, and if you don't follow my other channel, Sophisticated Organization, I am going to link a video in the cards here as well as in the description box sharing finding out that I'm pregnant, all of the details there, so you'll definitely want to check out that video. But today I want to do a whole first trimester recap, give a little bit more details that I didn't cover in that video, just because I think it's so interesting to watch these videos personally and to see the different symptoms that other women are having during their first trimesters of pregnancy and what they go through. Also interesting, I'm going to be sharing a little bit about how this compares to my first pregnancy. So if you're having a second or a third, maybe you'll see that some things are the same, some things are different. I think some things have been better this time around, maybe some things have been worse. But to quickly recap that other video, I did not know I was pregnant this time around, which was completely different than my previous pregnancies. I did have one miscarriage before having our son Owen. So those two pregnancies, I knew I was pregnant before I was pregnant. Before I even took a pregnancy test, I was just so positive that I was pregnant. And some of my major symptoms were sore breasts. That was really a clear sign to me that I was pregnant. And this time around, like I said, I didn't know I was pregnant. There were no changes going on there, no soreness whatsoever, no like size change, nothing. And I wasn't really experiencing any weird nausea. I had metallic taste in my mouth when I was pregnant with Owen, just all of these different things that felt off and weird. And this time, I honestly think I was at my OB appointment and I was 8 weeks pregnant and was telling them, I don't feel anything. If you didn't show me a positive pregnancy test or we didn't just do an ultrasound and see a baby there, I would still have no idea that I was pregnant at that point, which was such a sharp contrast to the previous two pregnancies. It's ironic that I had said that at my 8-week appointment because I'm pretty sure the next day or the day after, those symptoms really started hitting me just about 8 weeks and the nausea set in. And for me, that was similar to my previous pregnancy where I get this really low level nausea just kind of consistently on and off throughout the day. And it's not to the point of throwing up. I didn't throw up when I was pregnant with Owen, didn't throw up this pregnancy through the first trimester either. Although I will say this time around, the nausea was improved. I had extreme nausea in the evening when I was pregnant with Owen, and this time around haven't had any extreme nausea at night. I would wake up in the middle of the night. I remember being really hungry and nauseous, and I would just like get out of bed, come down to the couch and eat saltines and wrap myself up in a blanket and sipping on a lot of ginger ale and all of that stuff. So I do think in general it was way better, but it affected a lot of my eating habits. For the most part, that was mostly where I noticed the nausea. I would wake up hungry, and when I get really hungry, then I get even more nauseous. So having breakfast quickly in the morning was important for me to feel better, and the types of food that I wanted to eat were horrible. I told my doctor at my next appointment at 12 weeks, I don't know the last time I had a vegetable, and that was maybe a little dramatic, but in general was a pretty accurate summary of what I was eating. It was a variety of different types of carbs and bread and cheese. So like I would have a bagel and cream cheese for breakfast, or I would have mac and cheese or a quesadilla. It was just like bland, boring food, stuff that probably a toddler would love. And that was the only stuff that sounded good to me. A lot of times I would make a salad and just stare at it, especially meat dishes. I would make chicken for dinner and just kind of push it around my plate a little bit. It was not appetizing to me. So the meals that I cooked were probably not the most healthy for those few weeks. And I was really into wanting to get takeout food. Every time I made something at home, it just kind of made me nauseous. I didn't want to eat any of my own cooking, which is not like me at all. I love to cook, typically cook every meal that we eat. Every now and then we'll eat out, but for the most part, I cook everything and love to do it and love the food that I make. So does my husband, and was doing some cooking, but the meals that I would cook, I would either hate when they were healthy or I would make something that wasn't the most healthy. Sorry for that brief interruption. Somebody woke up. There's a little head here. We have Owen who joined us from his nap. But beyond the food aversions and all of that, I was extremely tired once the symptoms started to set in. Last time I dealt with a lot of insomnia, and I will say that is the same this time. Insomnia in the sense of I can fall asleep pretty easily, but wake up in the middle of the night and just can't go back to sleep. The OB that I had with my previous pregnancy and with this one does recommend taking like half of a Unisom if I really need to. They said there's no issues with doing that. I try and do it as sparingly as possible, but definitely did it several times during the first trimester just to give myself a little bit of sleep and get a full night's sleep. I found myself using the restroom numerous times in the middle of the night. If you've never been pregnant before, you think about having to go to the bathroom often in your third trimester when you're really big and have pressure on your bladder and all of that. But it actually happens in the first trimester because of all of the hormone changes. And of course, that happens a lot of times in the middle of the night. So I found myself going to the bathroom probably twice in the middle of the night, except those few times that I took half a Unisom and was able to sleep through the night and typically didn't have to go to the bathroom, which was really nice. During the day, I would also find myself probably 4 hours after waking up, sitting at my desk, already ready for a nap. So I was just tired in general. And then having a 1.5-year-old, that was really difficult too because he's at such an active age where he likes to grab my hand and pull me around. He says up, up, up and wants you to go up and go play with him. And when I was just feeling sick or really tired, I wanted to sit down so badly. So that was really difficult during the first trimester, wanting to be as present as I can and be the best mom that I can and be really fun and energetic, but also feeling not so great. In contrast, I weirdly had a lot of energy to exercise, which is strange saying that I was so tired, yet had this energy to exercise. When I was pregnant with Owen, I did exercise throughout my pregnancy into the third trimester, pretty close until the end of pregnancy. I would say those last few weeks I took it very easy, and I would use the term exercising pretty loosely there, but I did well exercising all the way through that pregnancy. The thing that was the most difficult for me is I love to run, and basically the second I found out I was pregnant, I couldn't run ever again. I ran once while I was pregnant, tried it. It was terrible and never did it again. And with this pregnancy, I feel like almost better than I did before I was pregnant. Maybe that's taking it a step too far, but I think when I was pregnant with Owen, it was probably the breast soreness that was just making it too difficult for me to run. I just remember running and like the pain that I was feeling, whereas this time I don't have the breast tenderness, so maybe that's why running has been easier for me. But cardiovascularly and just energy-wise in general, I've been feeling really great exercising and in particular going for runs. So hopefully that's positive news for you if you are somebody that wants to exercise through your pregnancy or previously had a pregnancy where exercise was a little bit more difficult for you, especially cardio exercise or things where you're jumping around. Just to know that every pregnancy is completely different. Could also be the opposite for you. Maybe you had a previous pregnancy where you were able to exercise and felt great, and then you have another pregnancy and unfortunately don't feel as great. You just never know. But it's helped me a lot with this pregnancy being able to exercise consistently because it's one thing I feel as if I have control over. And I will include in the description box a link to the pregnancy program that I use because I alternate running days versus weights and strength and yoga and those types of things. I use a video program from somebody I follow on Instagram, and she has a fit pregnancy program, and after baby, so a postpartum program. She even has one for women who are trying to conceive, and I've loved all of her programs, love her videos and all of the variety. They're so quick too. Some of her videos are as short as 7 minutes long, and you can just repeat them as many times as you want and do as many rounds as you want. So I've been able to fit those in really well. But the other thing that's been so extremely different, probably the most different thing in this pregnancy, has been my body. And I know that people say with a second pregnancy that your belly and your bump starts to show a lot earlier. And oh my gosh, for me, that could not be more true. Right now, I feel like I look like I'm 5 weeks ahead of where I am. At 15 weeks last time when I was pregnant with Owen, there wasn't any sort of a visible bump. I easily could have hidden my pregnancy if I wanted to. This time around, 15 weeks, I am visibly pregnant. And it's just been kind of difficult navigating those feelings of seeing a bump so much earlier and comparing myself to where I was last time. And I know our bodies just do what they're going to do during this time, and we can't really control it. But it still is mentally difficult to just feel like you're bigger, and I don't know what my body's going to look like through the rest of the pregnancy, if it's just going to kind of even out, but the bump shows earlier. We're just going to have to wait and see a little bit. But the other thing that is difficult in any pregnancy, at least for me, is figuring out that time when I want to really like embrace the bump and start to wear tighter shirts and show that I'm pregnant, because there truly is this awkward stage where you don't really look like you're pregnant. It maybe looks like you've eaten a few too many bagels and cream cheese like I was doing. But I've just really started to embrace it at this point, and I'm excited to be pregnant. I like being pregnant. It's kind of fun to have a bump, and just embracing it has kind of been the right way for me to go, especially now that I'm a little bit over that hump. But it's still awkward no matter what pregnancy you're on, getting to that point of embracing it and really just rocking it. In general, my mental state this pregnancy has been better. I will say, with the history of a miscarriage, I'm always just really uneasy in early pregnancy. If you watch the video that I linked, finding out that I'm pregnant, I did share how I had a few early ultrasounds where we didn't hear a heartbeat yet, and that was really nerve-wracking, waiting 2 weeks to go back to the doctor's office and to go back and wait for a heartbeat. Those 2 weeks were so difficult. And then always waiting in between appointments, no matter what, are really difficult, because you just don't know, especially in the early days when you can't feel anything and you're just really unsure of what's going on in there. So mentally, I've had some ups and downs, just being so excited and so grateful to be pregnant, so grateful to have made it through the first trimester, because I know that the chance of miscarriage really does drastically decrease once you get past that first trimester. That's why a lot of people wait to announce that they're pregnant till they're past that point. I liked using this calculator, and it's for some people, not for others, but there is a calculator online that I will also link in the description box, where you can type in how many weeks and days you are pregnant, your starting weight when you are pregnant, your starting age when you first get pregnant, your height, previous live births, as well as previous miscarriages, and it does an accurate percentage chance of having a live birth versus having a miscarriage. And I just found that comforting, watching the percentage go down, percentage chance of having a miscarriage, and seeing like, okay, it's only a 1% chance. That's truly so low, and that's helped my mental state. It helped when I was pregnant with Owen. And I just know that the first trimester can be really difficult for a lot of people who have gone through loss, and sometimes people who haven't gone through loss too, just not knowing what's happening in there. And it does get easier when you get further along, you get closer to viability, but that uneasiness for me never really goes away. I also wanted to mention that I tried to wait as long as possible to tell people that I was pregnant this time. I felt like when I was pregnant with Owen, I was so excited to tell people, and pregnancy is a long time. 9 months, 40 weeks, almost 10 months is a really long time, and it felt like I told people and I was so excited, and then it just drags on and on and on, and that excitement dies off a little bit. Plus, I wanted to have that special thing between my husband and I and have it be like a small family thing that we knew and keep it to ourselves for a while. But when I found out that I was pregnant, a couple days later, we went to California to be with my family. And I had a bachelorette party that I went to about a week after that. So I had a lot of things going on. It's difficult to be at a bachelorette party and be pregnant and not drinking. So that was tough to navigate. And of course, when I went to California to be with my parents, we went out to the most delicious sushi restaurant, and I was able to tell my parents that I wasn't really drinking. They knew that I wanted to get pregnant again. When I wanted to get pregnant the first time, I didn't really drink alcohol. So that wasn't abnormal for them, and I don't drink that much in general. I do like having a nice cocktail at dinner every now and then, but it's really not that strange for me to not have a drink, so that wasn't as weird. But I would say my favorite food out there is sushi. The more exotic the food, the better for me. Love raw sushi. So my mom was ordering all of these things, and we did it all family style, knowing that I would love the tuna tartare and the raw yellowfin tuna and all of this stuff. And I just kept being like, Jim, quickly eat the fish when my mom's not looking. And he was having like a double portion, and I was barely eating any food at that dinner and probably drooling watching him eat everything. So it was just funny. We chose not to tell them that entire time we were in California that I was pregnant. Survived the trip. They had no clue and were able to keep that secret a little bit longer. I did tell the bride for the bachelorette party that I was pregnant, so she didn't think I was just being like a wet blanket or anything. So she was really excited and kind of kept the secret. And then I, again, waited as long as I could to tell other people that I was pregnant. We told my husband's family and my family by having Owen wear a cute little shirt that I made that said Big Bro on it. So that was a fun way to tell everyone. It took some people a little while to notice what he was wearing and what it meant. But since my family doesn't live here in Nebraska where I live, we had to FaceTime them and show them. And we waited till they were all together and FaceTimed my mom and my dad and my brother and sister-in-law and their two little boys. So it was fun to tell them all together. I FaceTimed my grandparents and told them, and just kept it small with family. And then also told work at about 13 weeks. Sorry for the toes. And I announced on social media at 16 weeks that I was pregnant. So waited a pretty long time, in my opinion, especially with, like I said, how the bump was progressing. That is pretty much it for what I experienced in the first trimester. Some things, like I said, different from the first pregnancy. Other things were very similar. I'm excited to see what happens in the second trimester. A little sneak peek. I'm already starting to feel a lot better, and there's some other things I want to share about the second trimester that I'm noticing right now. And I still have weeks and weeks to go in the second trimester, so make sure you're subscribed to my channel and you can hit the notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video. There will be lots of content about pregnancy as well as kids and babies, toddlers and babies. So stay tuned for all of that. But I want to say thank you so much for being here with me today, as together we make this motherhood journey sophisticated.